"Sir, my baby sister is freezing," the little boy said. The snow had been falling for hours, thick flakes covering the empty park like a white blanket. Wind howled through the bare branches as Christmas lights blinked across the street, warm and distant. On a bench beneath a broken street lamp sat Caleb, 4 years old, bundled in a jacket 2 sizes too small. His legs were pulled tight to his chest as he held a baby girl wrapped in a thin, fraying blanket. Ellie's tiny face was flushed, her nose red, lips tinged blue. She whimpered softly against his chest. "Shua," Caleb whispered, rocking her gently. His voice was trembling from the cold. "Don't cry, Ellie. Big brother's here." Snow settled into his dark hair, melting down his cheeks. His fingers, raw and red, shook as he pulled the blanket tighter around her. "Mommy's going to come back soon," he murmured, repeating the words he'd been telling himself again and again. "She promised. She said to stay right here." But the park was empty. Just shadows. Snow. Silence. Ellie's eyes fluttered weakly. Her lips trembled. "Please don't get colder," he whispered. "You gotta be brave, okay? Like Mommy said." He looked around desperately. "Somebody." His voice cracked. "Please." Nothing. Then footsteps. Slow. Steady. Crunching in the snow. Caleb stiffened and hugged Ellie tighter. A man stepped into the dim streetlight, tall, in an expensive dark coat, shoes sinking into the slush. He paused when he saw the 2 small figures on the bench. He approached cautiously. "Hey," he said softly. "Are you all right?" Caleb didn't answer. His eyes were wide and tired. The man crouched to their level. When he saw Ellie's pale face, he inhaled sharply. "God. How long have you been out here?" "Sir," Caleb whispered. "My baby sister is freezing. Can you help us?" The man stared for a moment. Then he pulled off his thick wool coat and wrapped it tightly around both children. He tucked it around Ellie's tiny body with gentle hands. "I've got you," he murmured. "Hold on." He lifted Ellie first, her weight barely more than a bag of flour. Then he scooped up Caleb, who clung to his sister as if she were his entire world. "What's your name?" the man asked as he carried them toward a black car. "Caleb," the boy said. "And hers?" "Ellie." "I'm Grayson," the man replied. "Grayson Hale." He settled them inside the warm car, turning the heat to full. Caleb didn't cry, just watched Ellie closely, ensuring the coat stayed wrapped around her. "She's really little," he murmured. "Mommy said I have to keep her warm." "You did good, Caleb," Grayson said, meeting his eyes in the mirror. "You kept her safe." Caleb looked out the window, scanning the falling snow. "Mommy's still out there," he whispered. "You're safe now," Grayson assured him. "Is it okay if we stay with you?" "Just for a little bit." Grayson paused for a moment, then nodded. "Yes." The car pulled away. Caleb leaned his forehead against Ellie's. "I told you, Ellie," he whispered. "Big brother's here." Grayson carried the nearly frozen children into his mansion. Inside, warmth embraced them immediately. He took them upstairs, laid Ellie on a clean bed, and removed Caleb's soaked socks and shoes. The boy looked around with wide eyes. "Is this a hotel?" "No," Grayson said softly. "Just my house." He called his personal doctor. Within minutes, the man arrived and checked the children. "No frostbite," he confirmed, "but early hypothermia. They're lucky." Grayson wrapped them in blankets and sat on the edge of the bed. Caleb slowly leaned against him, a tiny, quiet gesture of trust. Grayson froze, unsure, but didn't move away. When Ellie whimpered, Caleb whispered, "She's hungry." Grayson scrambled through the kitchen until he found formula in an old donation box. His hands shook from panic as he tried heating it. "You have to warm it first," came a small voice. Caleb stood in the doorway, blanket around his shoulders. "Not too hot," he added. "Cold milk hurts her tummy." Grayson let the boy guide him. When the bottle was ready, Caleb fed Ellie with practiced hands. Later, Grayson placed Ellie into a crib he had quickly assembled. He hummed softly, a low, steady sound. Caleb murmured from the bed, "You have a nice voice." Grayson laughed quietly. "Thanks." Caleb fell asleep. Ellie breathed peacefully. And for the first time in years, Grayson didn't feel alone. The next morning, Caleb shuffled into the kitchen in oversized pajamas. Mr. Grayson, he whispered. Do you think Mommy is still looking for us? Grayson crouched beside him. I don't think, he said gently. I know she is. And we're going to find her. Caleb told him everything he remembered. Her name Leia. Her job at Bluebird Cafe. Her sunshine-colored hair. Her singing. Grayson searched every Bluebird Cafe in the city. They visited them one by one. But none were right. Then Caleb revealed something heartbreaking. At the bus station, someone knocked his mother down. In the chaos, he and Ellie were swept away. She didn't leave us, Caleb whispered. She lost us. Those words pierced Grayson like a blade. By late afternoon, as the sky darkened, Caleb suddenly gasped. Sir, that's my mom. Grayson stopped the car. Under a flickering street lamp stood a woman with golden hair, taping up a crumpled flyer. Her hands shook. Her eyes were frantic. On the flyer, the faces of 2 missing children. Caleb pressed his hands against the glass. Mommy! Grayson opened the door. Caleb ran to her through the snow. Leia turned, froze, and dropped to her knees. Caleb! She sobbed as he threw himself into her arms. My baby, my babies! Grayson approached with Ellie in his arms. Leia gasped, taking her daughter with trembling hands. Tears streamed down her face. Thank you, she whispered over and over. Thank you. She held her children, kissing their heads again and again. Then she looked up at Grayson. Their eyes met, full of relief, gratitude, and something deeper. You're welcome to stay, Grayson said quietly when they reached his house again. Until the storm passes. Leia hesitated, then nodded. That night they shared dinner. Caleb proudly announced, Mr. Grayson can cook soup like you, Mommy. Leia laughed softly. A real laugh. Later, Ellie developed a slight fever. Leia panicked. Grayson brought a cool cloth, kneeling beside her. You're not alone anymore, he said gently. Leia's eyes filled. She nodded. They sat together by the crib, watching over the baby. In the middle of the night, Caleb whispered to Grayson, Can I still hug you even if you're not my daddy? Grayson opened his arms without hesitation. Leia later found Grayson asleep on the couch, Ellie resting peacefully on his chest. She stood quietly, tears filling her eyes. Grateful, relieved, no longer alone. The storm passed by morning. Grayson handed her a shovel and smiled. Want to help me dig us out? Leia laughed for the first time in days. Only if you promise not to laugh when I fall. They stepped outside together, shoveling snow in the calm winter morning. For the first time, the world felt gentle again. Yes, she whispered. But not the way people think. I lost my husband in a car accident when I was 6 months pregnant with Ellie. Caleb was just learning to walk. I didn't have time to fall apart. I worked. I hoped they'd be okay. Grayson looked at her, surprised by the raw honesty in her voice. I stopped dreaming, she continued softly. No painting, no baking, just survival. He nodded slowly. I get that. I grew up without parents, bounced around foster homes. I thought building something big would make me feel whole. Did it? She asked gently. No, he said quietly. Turns out it's not things that matter. It's people. That afternoon, while helping Grayson sort through old storage, Leia opened a door at the end of the hall. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. The room was empty except for a dusty stool and a forgotten easel. This was supposed to be an art room, Grayson said behind her. But I never used it. Leia stepped inside, touched the window frame. It's beautiful. Grayson hesitated. Maybe it was waiting for someone else. The next morning she returned and froze. A set of watercolor paints sat neatly on the desk. Fresh brushes. Clean paper. A warm lamp glowing softly. On the table, a small note read, I hope you'll never stop dreaming again. Gee. Her eyes filled instantly. She pressed the note to her chest. That weekend, Grayson took them to a cozy photo studio. Leia, Caleb, and Ellie wore matching red sweaters. Grayson stood off to the side awkwardly until Caleb tugged his hand. You stand here, the boy said, pulling him beside them. In the photo. Caleb stood proudly in the middle, holding both their hands. Ellie giggled in Leia's lap. Now we all match, Caleb beamed. That night, after the kids were asleep, Grayson framed the picture and placed it above the fireplace, replacing a cold abstract painting with something warm. something real. On New Year's Eve, they curled up together in the living room. The fire crackled softly. Leia leaned beside Grayson, their legs almost touching. The kids played quietly on the rug. At midnight, fireworks lit the sky, colors reflecting across the windows. "I never thought I'd find home again," Leia whispered. Grayson looked at her. "Maybe home finds you." She smiled. "Just a little, but enough." Later that night, long after the fireworks died, the four of them stayed right there. Ellie slept on Leia's chest. Caleb rested his head on Grayson's leg, one small hand gripping his sweater. Grayson, eyes heavy, reached across the couch. His fingers found Leia's hand. She didn't pull away. In that moment there were no promises, only quiet understanding. A man who had lived behind walls. A woman who had lost her light. Two children who needed more than shelter. They weren't a traditional family, but they were becoming something else, something stronger, something true. Days later, Leia stood by the window watching snow fall across the lawn. Warmth filled every corner of Grayson's home, but something inside her felt unsettled. When Grayson entered the room, she turned. "I think it's time we go," she said softly. "We've stayed long enough. I have a friend near Millfield. It's not much, but she said we can stay a while." Grayson nodded once. "Of course. Whatever you need." She waited, hoping for more. For a reason to stay. But he stayed silent, his expression unreadable. The quiet hurt more than goodbye. She packed. She left. No explanations. No promises. Grayson stood in the doorway long after they drove away, staring at the space they once filled. That night he sat beneath the Christmas tree, holding the photo they'd taken together. Caleb's bright smile. Ellie clutching his sweater. Leia's soft eyes. It looked like a family, his family. Footsteps padded behind him. Caleb, in pajamas, climbed onto the couch holding a folded paper. "I drew this," he whispered. Grayson opened it. 4 figures under a crooked roof. Hearts in the windows. A home. A family. Caleb leaned closer. "I know you're not my daddy, but I love you like one." Grayson's breath caught. The drawing blurred. Tears slipped down his cheeks, real ones unhidden. He pulled the boy into a tight embrace. The next morning Leia packed slowly, still certain she was making the right choice. But on her way past the art room, something made her stop. A box of paint sat outside the door. A pad of thick paper. A small card. "I hope you'll never stop dreaming again. Gee." Her hand trembled as she touched the box. The emotion swelling inside her wasn't sadness. It was something softer, something returning. She turned. Grayson stood silently in the hallway. He said nothing. He didn't have to. Outside, she buckled Ellie into the car seat. Caleb climbed in. Snow drifted peacefully around them. As she turned the key, Caleb's voice broke. "Why can't we stay here, Mommy? We're a family now, right?" Her hands froze on the wheel. She looked in the mirror at her son's hopeful eyes. Then she looked back at the house. At the man who had once been a stranger in a storm. At the home that felt too warm to leave behind. The engine shut off. She stepped out of the car, holding Ellie, Caleb trailing behind. Snow crunched beneath their feet. Grayson turned at the sound. Leia met his eyes. "Is the offer still open?" He didn't hide the relief in his face. "Yes," he said softly. "Always." That night, as fireworks painted the sky again, the four of them sat together on the couch. Ellie slept on Grayson's chest. Caleb rested against Leia. "Can we live here forever?" Caleb asked sleepily. Grayson glanced at Leia. She nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Forever sounds just right." Outside, snow fell quietly. Inside, love settled in completely. A year passed. Laughter filled every room. Tiny socks scattered on the stairs. A crooked snow angel drawing clung to the fridge. The living room smelled of cinnamon and pine. Leia baked gingerbread stars with Caleb standing on a stool beside her. Ellie toddled across the room clutching her favorite stuffed penguin. Grayson hung ornaments and lifted Ellie high just to make her laugh. Her eyes met Grayson's across the room. He smiled. She smiled back. No grand wedding. No crowd. Just one morning. A simple gold ring with a blue stone appeared on her finger. She stayed. That was enough. The art room at the end of the hall became her studio. Sunlit, warm, filled with brushes, canvases, and new dreams. On the wall hung a framed newspaper article about her first art exhibition. Grayson had quietly submitted her paintings to a charity auction. A children's book editor had discovered her work. Now she was illustrating a picture book titled The Little Boy and the Winter He Lost His Mother. Her heart swelled at the sketch. Caleb's curious eyes, Ellie's tiny hat. A tall man with gentle hands carrying two shivering children through the snow. Caleb's voice echoed from the hall. "Mommy, Ellie's up. And Daddy said we can open one present." She laughed. "All right, let's go." They gathered beneath the glowing tree. Caleb opened a red gift with silver stars. Inside was a canvas. A painting of the four of them, holding hands in falling snow. "This is us," he whispered. Grayson nodded. "This is what Christmas should feel like. Always." That night, as snow fell again, they curled together on the couch. Ellie asleep on Leia's chest. Caleb nestled between them. Grayson draped a blanket over their little family. No words. Only warmth. Only love. If this were a movie, the camera would pull back through the window, snowflakes drifting softly in the dark. Outside was cold. Inside was home. Not perfect, but whole. Not built on blood, but on love, trust, and the courage to stay. Somewhere inside that little house, tucked between laughter and healing, lived a quiet miracle. A second chance. And sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into. It's the one we build.